Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to the 360 Insights Elevate Channel Talks podcast. I am so excited today because we have a special guest joining us. We have Kristen Grenier. She is the leader of global channel marketing at Talus. And Kristen, we are so excited that you accepted our invitation to join us today.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Akila. I think this is the perfect way to end the week on a Friday, and I am so excited to be here and speaking with you.
Good, we're glad. So before we even jump into anything at all, why don't you give the audience an idea of what you do at Talus?
Great. So I lead the global channel marketing organization at Talus. What does that entail? I have a team across all the different regions, so the Americas, EMEA, APJ, and Latin America. um, Making sure that we are engaging and working with our partners, making sure they are educated, aware, and can drive demand for all of our Talus products and solutions.
Nice. So, in other words, you're very busy, but you love what you do.
Yes, I do. I love what I do. I like to say that I have been born and raised in channel.
I love that. Actually, that may flow nicely with our first question. It may or may not, depends on what you choose
Okay.
here. But my first question to you before we dive into this awesome topic, I want to know what was your first job and what impact has it had on your career since then? You can think of your very
So,
first job, or maybe you can think of your first job in the channel, whatever's comfortable to you.
well, I like to talk about my very first job because it makes me laugh because I think it actually tells a lot about myself as I got older. So I was about like, I wanted to be independent. I wanted to be able to buy my own clothes, do my own things. And so when I was 14 years old, I applied to be a landscaper because I thought it incorporated my two favorite things, like being outside and I would get paid.
Okay.
But just so you know, as a 14-year-old, being a landscaper was actually a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. But I did enjoy it and it was a lot of fun and I learned a lot.
I can
Um,
imagine. Wait, did
yeah,
you have
no.
equipment and everything? Like, so your parents had to drive you around from
Oh
house
yeah,
to
of
house?
course. Yeah, exactly. My thing, honestly, what it was is that I wanted to shop in the mall. And my parents said, if you would like to shop in the mall, you have to earn your own money. And I said, okay,
Yeah, good for you.
go
Wow.
off I went. Yeah,
So
yeah,
what skill do you have? Like, I'm sure you learned a lot, but what's
yeah.
one that stands out to you that you do to this day in your role as the leader of global channels?
I think the thing is if I look back at that and then like the jobs, like the job that really kind of made me want to go into channel and go into marketing, I think the skill was actually, I don't know if it's a skill, but it's passion. I think it's understanding like where you find joy and being able to work an environment that kind of always keeps you growing and learning. And I think that, my tenacity and kind of like that drive that I had as a kid kind of always pushed me as I've gone through my career.
Right. That's amazing. I see that having worked with you for the past several years. I see the passion, I see the drive. Like you're all in.
Oh
You're
yeah,
all
no,
in.
thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, that's the biggest compliment. I truly do love what I do. And I think that one of the things that I've always loved about channels, specifically channel marketing, is that in order to be able to work with partners, you have to have, it's not just the marketing piece of it. And marketing encompasses, social and media and demand generation, but you also have to have business development, understand how to like grow, and work with the partner to grow, your joint business.
Right.
And I think the other part that I always loved is the sales piece of it and working with people
Yeah.
and really having that collaborative experience across different teams to be able to all reach one end goal.
Right. And it's all about relationship, right? In the channel, whether it's with
Oh my God.
partners
Yeah.
or internal teams. And
Yep.
I see you as like you're big on that. You're big on. I
Oh,
know if I were to
yeah.
interview your team, they would just be like, "Oh yeah, Kristen is just real."
Thank
That's
you.
what it's amazing when you talk about sales strategies. And I know there's got to be
Yeah.
high level sales
Yeah.
strategies, but a lot of times it's all built on relationships, even in marketing.
Yeah, 100%.
Relationship.
I mean, I think it's relationships, it's transparency, it's
Yeah,
honesty. And I think when you're working with partners, you're both, obviously have your businesses, but it really is about finding that joint path and that joint growth, and then how do you work together to get there?
absolutely. Absolutely. Like, why this partnership, And
Yep.
sometimes as vendors or suppliers, we forget the why. Like, why did we come together in the first place? It's like you got to rekindle that
Yeah.
fire,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, 100%, 100%.
So that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
But today, no, thank you for letting us in on your
Yeah.
on a little bit of a little bit of who you were from the 14-year-old Kristen to who you
Yeah,
are today.
the 14-year-old that wanted to shop at the mall.
I love it. You knew your why. Hey, you had a clearly defined why. So
Exactly,
that's
exactly.
pretty impressive. But we're here today really to talk about key performance indicators, right? For marketing teams, because often as marketers, you're a marketer, I'm a marketer. We've come a long way, by the way. I remember early on in my career, I just thought all of my campaigns, everything I did was just spot on. I didn't care about setting any goals. Who cared about the budget? Now it's different. Like we better have data on what we are doing. Are we doing it well? Is it effective?
Absolutely.
Is it impacting the bottom line? And so KPIs are just that. So I want to talk to you about that today, and why it's so important as marketers that we should really keep that at the forefront. Before we dive into the topic anymore, how about we identify or define what that is? Like, what is an internal KPI? And why do you think that it's so crucial for marketing teams and organizations outside of marketing to really hone in on these KPIs?
Yeah. Well, I think it goes back to when you talk about transparency and collaboration, everyone needs to know kind of what you're driving towards. So for me, for my teams and for myself, internal KPIs are important because it sets the groundwork for what our outcomes are going to be or what we're trying to drive to.
Mhm,
I think that in marketing, especially in channel marketing, you have hard KPIs that are pipeline, it's leads. Those are very, very tangible.
mhm,
In partner marketing, when you're talking about education and awareness, those aren't as tangible. Or if you're building content, so to be able to explain the why and how you're going to measure it up front is super important. So, if you're building some, joint value propositions, the KPI is how you're going to use it, where you're going to use it, and basically the reach that you're going to be able to get. So we recently just did a project where we were doing some content, joint content with Google.
mhm.
And then, obviously investing in content, it's time, it's dollars. But then when you could see where and how it was going to be used, that was your KPI. And then the same thing when we're talking about, we all do executive partner forums, being able to understand the different levels of people that you're touching within the partner. So if it's a C-level person, the person that's really driving that joint business, you can be able to look to see how many of those that you're engaging and then set KPIs to be built upon that. So that is then how many sales reps are actually engaging with your content? How many sales reps are doing downloads? All those data points start to tell a story. And what I like about the end of the story is deal registration and pipeline is the end of your story.
Right.
So if you start to kind of set that groundwork and be able to communicate that to your internal stakeholders, then it becomes more tangible of what you're trying to actually drive to.
That is, I'm trying to take it in because that is extremely powerful what you just shared. It's actually a point of view I've never considered. You just positioned internal KPIs as almost like building blocks. I think oftentimes as marketers, we come in and we want to have all the KPIs set because we know it is important and we know that
Right.
transparency is important. But what you just said was, yeah, you may start at the beginning. You gave us some examples of some of those KPIs. What is the content going to be used for? You're defining it along the way. I
Yeah.
love that because then you're building upon it and then you're creating that story. And like you said, the end result is
And I think the story is what the important piece is because it is a journey. It is the different pieces that allow you to get to a certain outcome. You can't just turn on a partner and all of a sudden they're just bringing you opportunities and things, their pipeline is going up. You
Right.
have to be able to have that nurture. And it's those steps. And I think a lot of people end up kind of forgetting that.
Right. We forget the steps, the basics.
Yeah.
So then how do you manage expectations? Like, can you recommend setting some realistic and achievable KPIs that are definitely achievable? Keyword being achievable.
Yeah, achievable. So, so it's been really interesting within, so Imperva, I was previously with Imperva. We
Hmm.
were purchased by Talus. So it's been a great opportunity to be able to kind of reset those expectations because now we have a combined ecosystem.
Hmm.
So we have partners that we need to educate on each portfolio. So for me, it's the KPIs can be very simplistic. And it goes back to the example I just talked about, where, you know, when you are educating partners on a certain product solution, making sure that you're setting a KPI of every ecosystem has your platinum, your gold, your silver. You have those needle movers that you know that you want to get in front of.
Hmm.
So set the KPI of we know who our these are our strategic partners. The tier might not even matter,
Hmm.
but we know that these are our needle movers. Be able to set how many of those that you want to engage, that you want to be able to make sure you have them on board. And
Right.
I think that is something that then, again, to be able to build the blocks. So then as you start doing your other activities and you start doing those customized newsletters, being able to measure if it's still those same partners that are coming along that journey with you.
Right.
And so I think that the idea of, whatever number for the KPI, they don't have to be so um, outrageous.
Right.
They're simplistic.
Right.
Number of partners, number of strategic partners, number of distributors, number of the C levels. We also right now are going through, you want to make sure your salespeople are educated and aware, but also, how are you get in front of your SEs? Your SEs are the ones that are talking to customers on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
How are we measuring that?
Right.
And what are we doing to educate them and again make sure they have a clear understanding?
Right. Wow, that's important. So you got to think of the touch points. You have to think of the not the routes to market necessarily, but you definitely have to get a better understanding of who all is playing, right? Who are the players?
Exactly. I mean, and then you can start dividing it by partner type. You know what I mean? You can divide it into a bunch of different pieces.
Right.
But I think that, for us right now, when we have such a large partner ecosystem, we're trying to bring them together and we're trying to do that cross-pollination, being able to make sure that each partner type that came together under one program,
Right.
we don't have to be that elaborate on the KPIs that we're setting.
Correct. And something too that you've mentioned, we haven't necessarily called it out, but it is important, is data, right? If you're going to
Right.
segment partners, if you better know your data as a marketer,
Yeah,
right?
I love data. I mean, data is, I think that's the key thing.
Yeah.
Again, with our education and our awareness, and it's just top of mind because it's a lot of the stuff we're doing right now.
Mhm.
Being able to go into your database and understand your partners and where their certification levels are, understand, who's educated, where they're educated, where the gaps are, so you can actually start to build awareness programs around those gaps.
Right.
There's a certain product solution vertical. So you can use so it's not only your partner pipeline data, it's your partner like education and certification data. It's
Yeah.
all these different pieces that start to tell a story that allows you to build everything from there.
Right. I love that. You keep talking about building a story, and that's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you have to be able to communicate what that story is, especially if
Well,
you're selling to your stakeholders.
yeah, and I think this is something also that again is kind of one of the reasons why I love channel marketing because you have to have all these different components to be able to make a good decision and to
Right.
make a decision that you think is, it is the right one for the moment on your specific goals and objectives, what you're trying to drive. you said something earlier about like, when you're younger, you build a campaign and you don't worry about money and you don't worry about anything.
Mhm.
And to me, I can remember saying back then, like, build it and they will come. Well, guess
Yes,
what?
so true.
Guess what?
They're
That
not
doesn't happen
coming.
anymore. You know what I mean? You
Yes.
have to be, you have to be relevant. You have to
Yeah.
make sure that you're talking to the right person at the right time about the right thing.
Right.
That is, again, it's that journey and it's all data driven.
So good. We're limited on time, right? Especially our key decision makers. Like
Yeah.
we've got to make sure we are just efficient and it's got to be relevant and you've got to catch them in the moment. If not,
Yeah.
you are automatically irrelevant to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think it's also, everyone's moving fast.
Everyone.
Times I think when you're moving fast, you're forgetting kind of about the basics.
Yeah.
And I know that there's one of my favorite, phrases like fail fast. So
Right.
it's not about not doing that. It's not about taking calculated risks and all that, but there are just certain things that we should just incorporate because it makes sense because we know we have those points in front of us.
Absolutely. And, I'm actually preparing some content around a webinar about getting back to the basics because we forget.
Yes.
Like just basic things that we've forgotten. We've overcomplicated it. We're digital now. We're AI. And so we have to go back to the basics sometimes.
Right.
So I do appreciate that comment. So what would what's the biggest common mistake you think marketers make then in setting KPIs? Is it because they're trying to just boil the ocean? And are they just doing too much too
So I think
quickly?
I think that is exactly it. I think
Okay.
it is you just made the comment about going back to basics. I actually had my team meeting this week and was talking with someone, and do you know what the highest performing marketing campaign for this agency was right now?
What?
Direct mail,
I,
direct kits.
I'm not
Right?
surprised.
Right? So we've gone like,
Yeah.
so again the
Well,
pendulum swings,
yeah,
right? So we
yeah,
went this way. So I'm
yeah,
like, oh God, we're back to sending boxes.
yeah.
Great. So I think that's the thing is like so I think the most common mistake is exactly what you said, boiling the ocean.
Hmm.
So, I'm about doing fewer things well
Hmm.
instead of doing lots of things.
Hmm.
I'll go back to, again, education and awareness and engaging our C-level partners is top of mind right now. So I would rather do more activities
Hmm.
that are very focused and have
Hmm.
the right people
Hmm.
because I've looked at certifications, I've looked at pipeline, I've looked at their engagement. I
Right.
know they're partners that want to be there. So
Yeah.
I'd rather do fewer things with the right people.
Right. And what you're speaking there is pretty much alignment, so alignment in who you're reaching. What about alignment in your business objectives? So when you're determining what those KPIs should be, what campaigns, whatever it is that you're
Yeah.
focused on, how does a marketer ensure that they are aligned with also the business objectives to help prioritize what they should be focusing on? Is that easy or what are your thoughts on that?
I think no, it's a great question because I think that again, channel is a route to market. And so, working in cybersecurity, things are changing every single day. There's new products, there's new focuses. So I think when it's aligning to business objectives, it's understanding that you are not going to be able to align with every business objective.
Right.
And again, I have certain things that are top of mind with, new product launches, all these different, the new shiny thing for the day.
Right.
Well, again, talking to a partner, you have to be able to understand what's their business objective and where it aligns with ours.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
again, it's the fact of there just might be some things that we might not be able to align on it right now, and it might have to wait like a quarter.
Right.
But that's because we're working on this business objective.
Very
Um,
good.
you said earlier that partners have so much stuff. So you can't, again, partners have so many different vendors. You have to be able to be relevant. You have to be talking about things that they're hearing from, their customers. So I go back to less is more. And
Yeah.
it's the same thing you asked me about like KPIs. Don't boil the ocean.
Right.
Be focused.
Be focused. This is so good. I wish I sometimes I wish I could, well, we talk about this a lot. Like, what would you tell your
Yeah.
younger self, my younger marketing self? If I knew this stuff that we're talking about,
Oh, Aki-
are you kidding
seriously,
me?
that's like, yeah. No, I agree 100%. But I think that is also the fantastic thing about getting wiser.
This I like the way you put that. Put
Yep.
that one right there because you're
Yep.
right. So when it comes time, we talked a little bit about that, the stakeholders, we talked about the data and the storytelling. When it comes time to communicate the impact or the progress of a campaign, like what are some best practices? How do you recommend piecing that story together? You've kind of touched on it already, but anything else you would add for a marketer who then has to take all this data and all these
Yeah.
campaigns and things like that? How do you communicate the effectiveness of that to the stakeholders?
In the simplest way possible. So I think that's one thing. So you talk about getting wiser. Uh,
Hmm.
we live and breathe these data points and all this stuff, and we
Right,
love it. And
right.
you get so excited because you see where you started and where you ended.
Yeah.
Um, but I think one of the things that I realized as I became wiser is that less is more. And so to be able to just communicate to your stakeholders, be it your CMO, your VP of channel sales, your sales leaders, kind of what your objective was, your KPIs that you set,
Hmm.
and you achieve them.
Yeah.
Because ultimately that's what they want to know.
Right.
And I think there's the long story, and then there's the Reader's Digest version.
Right.
And you need to focus on the Reader's Digest version.
Yeah. That's very good. That's good advice. You're right. And that's in anything we do, don't you think, for marketing wise? Like keep it
Oh
very,
yeah.
yeah.
Again, I think when you're I think again when you're so close to things and I know how I am, I get excited and I want
I was
everyone
thinking
to
the
be
same thing.
just as excited as me and I
Yes.
want everyone to know everything that the teams did and
Right.
how we got there.
Right.
Um, and you know what? There's a time and place for that.
Yes.
When you're sharing results of a campaign and a program or an event or whatever,
Right.
Reader's Digest version.
Yeah. You know who's really good at that is Jen Reed. She is the one
Yes.
that has helped me because she's like, don't, because I get excited and I want to include everything, every piece of detail. And she's like, no, just give us the important
Yep.
information. That's
Yep.
it. That's all you need. So I agree with you. I'm still a work in progress on that.
Oh, I
So
am
I
too.
appreciate
On
the
a lot of
comment.
things.
But anything else, like, is there a specific success story that you want to share about how KPIs have made a significant impact just in your career? Like anything that you think would be helpful for some marketers who are looking for some hope?
Well, I think there's hope. I can promise you that there is hope.
There's hope.
I think if there's a piece of advice I'd have to give is to communicate and to communicate often. I think that one of the things that, and again, I had a team meeting this week and I was talking about this with my own team, is that we don't celebrate our successes and we don't share them. And I think there's the one thing about sharing them with me, but then I want to be able to make sure that, the different activities and campaigns we're running, how are we sharing that with our broader stakeholders?
Hmm.
And I think that is something that if I had to talk to my younger self, is that
Hmm.
make sure that everyone knows, different things that you're running and when something is finished, what was the outcome?
Right.
And it doesn't have to be, you know, 30 a 30-page PowerPoint deck. It has to, it can be very, very simple to say, so the example I'll give is last year, we had a big year of integration. And really what it was about was educating Talus partners on Imperva, educating Imperva partners on Talus, and then being able to talk about the value of the two companies coming together.
Right.
Um, and we ended up doing 25 plus different, partner events across the different regions.
Hmm.
And really what it was going back to the earlier conversation, being able to show the partners that we were able to reach, the level of person that we were able to reach,
Hmm.
And then honestly, what it then led into is as we developed a new partner program and launched it, those partners that decided to take on both portfolios.
Wow.
So that is right. So again, it's being able, I have one of my favorite mentors that I know you know, Michael McCullough,
Yes,
always talked about being able to connect the dots. And I think that is also just a super skill, like
right,
for marketers to learn, is that you have to be able to think of what you're doing now and know what's coming. So like we knew we were launching a new partner program,
right,
then how are we going to make sure that when the program launched, we felt that partners had a good understanding of the value of why they should actually sell both portfolios.
right. Oh, that's so good. Connecting the dots is resonating with me.
Yeah,
As
that's
marketers, we have to be able to do that.
yep, I can't take credit for that one. That is a Michael McCullough.
Okay, thank you, Michael, which we
Yeah.
both know him and love very much. So, no, that's really good. Wow, you said so many things that I'm trying to. It's soaking. I'm just taking it in because it's really important. This conversation here, just talking about the basics, being realistic, make it achievable, and be able to tell the story can really set you apart as a marketer. That could be your differentiator. If you can master this,
I think you just said it exactly. And I do think that sometimes we try to boil the ocean.
we do.
And and it's a that's a pretty big ocean.
It is. It is pretty big.
Like that's a pretty big ocean.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
So I have
Um,
one final question for you because we can't talk about this and not talk about AI, right? We
oh,
have to insert it somehow, some way.
yes.
But what are your thoughts on that as a marketer? And maybe it's not related to just KPIs. We know AI can do, there's so much
Yeah.
it can do, but what are you seeing? What are you thinking? How are you leveraging AI to help you maybe set some KPIs and things like that? What are
Yeah.
you seeing right now?
So it's perfect timing. Again, had my team meeting this weekend.
Good.
So and it was so exciting because it was the first time bringing everyone together from around the globe.
Oh,
And a lot of
wow.
the first time that people had actually met each other
Oh,
too.
that must have been
So,
special.
and what, no, it was special because I got to do it in Boston, my hometown.
Yes.
Um, and one of the things that we did is that we did an AI prompting certification.
Oh,
Yes. Um,
interesting.
and I think the thing is that, and I speak for myself, is that understanding, like, I think AI is so big, like, and
Hmm.
there's so much to it. And I think it's being able what my goal was to start educating my team of how they could use it in their daily work for efficiencies
Yes.
and just to make life a little easier. But also, I think the thing with the AI is that it gives you what you put in. Like there's so much more to it
Yes.
than than just like saying, please give me a KPI for, whatever type of marketing
Right.
activity. And so the response was overwhelmingly positive. And I think the team, and again, nothing that they had ever dabbled in before, walked away with like, oh my God, I could actually use this in my day-to-day life.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's something that everyone um, needs to start learning about.
Right.
And I know that I've had some colleagues of mine that, I might have been a little hesitant, but now I'm all in.
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
you bring up a good point. It brings a level of efficiency like
Yeah.
no other. And so as a marketer, and you're right, it's not a lot of people too are you can't, it's not just plug and play. You're not going to just
Oh,
input something and then it's what you put in, you get out is
right,
exactly what you said. So
right.
you have to be strategic. There's still a level of strategic thinking and knowing what you need to know what the end result is as well. So
No, I think that's exactly it, is
yeah,
that being able to, and I think that was something that my team and myself being able to have those understand how to prompt,
exactly.
when to prompt, to then be able, and then how to continue to refine and reform, um,
Exactly.
is really, really important.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also understanding too the difference between, chat GPT and then smaller, private language. I'm going to start talking. I just learned all about this week.
Right. Hey, well,
You know what I mean? But again, like being able to understand, the challenges or, the risks with both,
absolutely.
open chat GPT.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to know what you're doing, and you
Right.
need to also make sure you're not putting sensitive data out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm just waiting for AI to come clean my house, cook some
Oh,
meal,
I'm waiting for it to cook me
my
dinner.
laundry.
Yeah, I'm waiting.
When
I
when's
can't
that
wait.
happening? Give us a prediction, Kristen, because I'm
I
ready.
don't know. I don't, yep. I can't wait. I'm there with you. I
I
am there
can't
with you,
wait for
Sheila.
that day. Well, I want to thank you so much. I know you are one of the busiest people I know. So honestly, we really appreciate we as in 360 Insights Elevate. We do. We appreciate you stopping by, taking time. You
Oh,
have to come by again because we could I know
oh,
there's several other topics we could talk about and we
absolutely.
got to
I
do
mean,
it.
so first of all, I think the two of us could chat for hours, no
Right.
matter no
We
matter
can.
what the topic. But no, I really appreciate it, and I have to say, like, I so appreciate, yourself, the 360 team, Jen and Brad.
Yes,
You
thank you.
guys have just been so fantastic, and provide those industry insights. And so I have to thank you for having me as well.
Thank you. We appreciate that. I'll thank you on behalf of Brad and Jen as well.
Perfect.